quite remember, or they can't exactly decipher an English word, and they can go back and look at it in Spanish and then make that connection throughout the lesson if they need to. So lesson objectives. For content, when assign an emotion out of 5, happy, sad, surprised, scared, or angry, that's what we're dealing with in this lesson. The students will be put into groups to construct a presentation describing their emotion and using it in a sentence along with the addition of its antonyms and synonyms with 100% accuracy. So that is the assessment in that range. And then for language, this is where the vocabulary role play comes into play. The students and their group members will then create a dramatization of their emotion to act out in front of the class. A well-generated scenario will be required in order to convey their assigned emotion accurately. And as I mentioned before, they will be encouraged and more or less, I will be disappointed if I don't see this, but they need to incorporate a little bit of what they researched into their dramatizations, which by the time they're done researching and presenting, they should be confident enough to create a short role play skit, I should say, to where they can confidently convey the emotion that they're assigned. They should have enough knowledge. They should also have background knowledge of that emotion because they've definitely experienced it. So yeah, that shouldn't be difficult to do in my opinion. So the key vocabulary is emotions, which emotions are the way we feel from moment to moment, antonym, synonym, adjective, and yeah, those are the important things. Obviously this lesson isn't very complex as far as spelling and in vocabulary words, but it is still important to highlight these things and set them as reminders, and just for something that they need to know this is what to expect in the lesson, this is what you'll see in the lesson. Let's see. So for activating prior knowledge in this lesson, this is where I would give the students the definition of emotion, which is how we feel from moment to moment, as I mentioned before. And it is important to explain to the class that emotions can change depending on what is going on around them, at home, with their friends. Emotions are not stable by any means. They range and they change, and it could be rapid. And I think they should understand that. To assist students with grasping this definition, I could prompt a question for the students to think about, which is can anybody tell me an emotion that they felt today? What situation led you to feel this emotion? Just to get the wheels turning a little bit, which I think is important to start out this lesson. So let's get into the presentation. So before the lesson begins, I will explain to the students that they will be reviewing some new vocabulary words. I will write them on the board to serve as a visual aid for the entire class. They can refer back to these when needed, even though, as I mentioned, these are not complex vocabulary words, but it is important for students to know. And also in their presentations and skits and stuff, they can refer oh, we need antonyms, synonyms, adjectives, so. It can be almost used as a checklist, in my opinion. So I will write those up on the board, and I already mentioned the vocabulary words. So the students will repeat each word and definition after me. I will then provide examples of each word and definition. So for example, I would write some examples of emotions are happy, sad, angry, surprised, and scared, and discuss that these are the ones we will be focusing on today. An antonym for the word happy is sad. A synonym for the word happy is cheerful. And as far as adjectives go, the huge oak tree had thick roots and beautiful orange leaves. And I would ask the students to help me point out the adjectives in that sentence, which would, like I said, activate that prior knowledge, get the wheels turning. So once the words and definitions are reviewed, a short video on emotions will be shown to the students on the smartboard in order to assist student understanding on the different variants of feelings and how they can be expressed. I always think, as a visual learner myself, I always enjoyed growing up seeing a video before we dove into a lesson. I think it helps a lot of students conceptualize, the visual learners conceptualize what they're learning. It provides an interactive piece. It provides just an engaging, more enjoyable thing other than just sitting there and listening, which was hard for me growing up. So after the video, the educator will pull popsicle sticks with student names on them. This will be randomized, and I will partner 4 students up in groups of 5. 1 emotion out of 5 will be assigned to each group to base their presentations and dramatizations on. So, for example, if group 1 has the emotion of angry, they will do their presentation on the emotion angry and or anger, and do their dramatization on anger as well. So, and like I said, this presentation is also short. It only needs to include like a title slide, a description of their emotion along with it being used in a sentence with adjectives included, 2 antonyms, 2 synonyms, and pictures. Students will receive 30 minutes to work on this. They're in groups, so I figured they wouldn't need as much time if they were working on this as an individual assignment. But I think this, having it be a group assignment, is a great way for them to put their heads together, to talk about it, to digest their emotion more or less, and interpret how, how I said before, how somebody feels, how they feel, how they can, see somebody feeling that certain emotion. I think it's just a great way to conceptualize the material in a better way. So, between presentations, as these children are presenting in their groups, I will make remarks such as, I remember feeling happy when I won a prize at the fair. I want students to understand or, interpret that I also, adults can have emotions. Not only them, but adults, anybody can have experience and exhibit emotions. So, if a group is doing their presentation on happiness, that's when I would make that remark and, relate, so then students can understand, oh, she also feels that way. My teacher feels that way too. It's fine. Or I cried when I fell on the sidewalk. Can anybody tell me what emotion I was feeling in that moment? So, some students can say, I was feeling sad. Yeah, I got hurt. I'm sad. Or I was feeling scared. What if I hurt myself? This can be up for debate, and I would love to have this conversation with my students and see how they interpret these situations. And I think it would help me understand how they are, how they are conceptualizing emotions if it's surface or if it's on a deeper level. And that's the whole point of this lesson. I've mentioned that before, but it's going to be repetitive because it is so important for this lesson. And me making those remarks also allows students to make connections to the presentations that they are observing. When they're seeing these presentations, they can think to themselves oh, I can use these words to express how I feel when I'm surprised. I can, I'm thinking about a time where I was happy. I relate to their sentence or description or, anything of that matter, and which is important. Connections are important. And even though they're not verbally saying it, just that they're thinking it makes a world of difference. So once all groups have presented, I will task the students with creating a short role play to act out to the class based on their assigned emotion. They will be, like I said before, encouraged to use the things in their presentation and incorporate them into their skits. Students will have 20 minutes to create their skits, and like I said, this should be, short, and this is a group effort, so that, with, 4 people together, it should be easy to, create a short role play. And I will assist these students. I will go to each group and visit them, and, for example, your emotion is surprise. Can one of you tell me a time you were surprised or shocked? I will throw a synonym in there. And I think it's important to throw that synonym in there because then that can help them make connections and formulate their synonyms and antonyms for their role plays. And if they do need help, I know that sometimes it can be difficult to create different situations and experiences and such, and like present that to others. So I will be there along